My guest is Carli Lloyd, two-time FIFA World Player of the Year, two-time World Cup champion. Her hat trick at the 2015 World Cup final was one of the most clutch championship performances ever. Two-time Olympic gold medalist, U.S. women's national team soccer legend. She's a minority owner with Gotham FC of the NWSL, Teqball ambassador, and she is the author of the book When Nobody Was Watching. Carli Lloyd, welcome to Sports Business Radio. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on.
All right. So you retired about a year ago at this time. On a scale of 1 to 10, how's retirement going so far?
Oh, it's like an 11. It's
Really?
amazing. Yeah. I'm not just saying this. I've told numerous people like I really don't miss playing. Which I think is a good thing because I gave it all I had for those 17 professional years and accomplished what I wanted to accomplish. And now I'm just having the luxury of being able to just live life and just enjoy everything, which
Uh,
sounds pretty crazy.
I mean, that's great when you can walk away and not look back and have any regrets, and you know that you did all that you could do. I've been following you on Instagram. I'm actually recording this from the mountains in Arizona right now. Our family has a mountain house in Arizona. And I see that you were pretty close to here recently. A couple of weeks ago, you hiked the Grand Canyon. What was that like?
Yes, yes, yeah. My husband and I were just out there. I had my last clinic of the year there, so that was great. Got a little golf in, got a nice little hike in. The hike was probably one of the hardest hikes I've done. We did Bright Angel Trail, but we just did the 9 mile one where it was hike down 4.5, hike back up 4.5, which I think I like it the opposite way. I think I like to hike up first and then go down.
Yeah. And golf, I mean, it looks like you're really spending some time working on your game and playing golf. Is that going well for you?
It is. It's really hard. It's
Yeah.
probably one of the most challenging sports I've ever attempted to do. And I'm really just trying to kind of learn the right way. Obviously, my husband has been a golfer for quite some time, has been in the business. So for me, it's just actually breaking it all down and learning the right way. So it's a work in progress. It's going to take a lot of time, but he's a good teacher. I'm a good student, so it's been working out well. But I'm ready for that kind of aha moment where my swing is like on plane and I'm doing it consistently and feeling pretty good. So I'm just enjoying it while I can.
That's great. All right. I want to talk about some of your business partnerships. As I mentioned, you're a minority owner with Gotham FC. You're an ambassador for Teqball. Let's start with when someone comes to you and they want to work with you, what are the elements that you look for in a partnership?
For me, it's got to, you know, it has to align with what I'm about as a person, how I was as a player. I'm very authentic in kind of partnering with other companies, organizations that just speak volumes to who I am. And that's what's been great is that, I've attracted all of these amazing partnerships and sponsorships from just being the best version of myself and being as authentic as I can. So that for starters, obviously I have to, either enjoy the product or like what I'm working with, and Teqball was something that kind of came out of nowhere for me just during the pandemic. So yeah, it's been great. I've had a lot of great partnerships over the year and definitely a huge honor to be the first female Teqball in USA.
I have watched Teqball online and on TV, and it's crazy. I mean, I think you have to be uber athletic. It's kind of a combination of soccer, ping pong, tennis, pickleball. There's a lot of things going on, but how would you best describe Teqball to our audience?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely a crossover into like ping pong, tennis. It's a lot of fun, especially because the table is curved.
Right.
So, the timing of and the placement of where the ball needs to hit, on the table, is definitely something that is needed when you're playing it. So I think that probably takes some getting used to with people who have maybe just played ping pong and it's obviously a flat surface. So yeah, it has kind of a mixture of everything. But for me, growing up playing soccer, I played a lot of soccer tennis just with my feet.
Hmm.
And it really helped my touch, my control, my awareness, everything. And I would spend, multiple times doing that, even all the way up until the end of my career. So the Teqball table is actually great for aspiring soccer players as well, just to get better touches on the ball and have some fun, play a little 2-on-2 and have it get competitive.
So my stats show me there's 4,000 active Teqball players globally in 114 countries. We see sports like pickleball picking up popularity. I mean, do you think this is where Teqball can get to?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that it's probably, I think it's like one of the fastest emerging sports. And obviously been on the rise, especially getting a broadcasting deal with ESPN. I think when people see it, it's very intriguing and it's very addicting to be able to watch. And, the games don't last a really long time. So, if you've got some people whose attention spans are, not really invested in just sitting down and watching, the games go pretty quickly, and it's just fun and it's nonstop, aside from kind of the breaks in between each games. But yeah, I do see that, it's going to be one of these sports that just continues to rise. What I love is there's tables, kind of sporadically throughout the country and West Coast, East Coast, where you can just go into the park and play. We need to bring more people and young kids into the parks to play, because I feel like we've kind of gone through this stage where not a lot of kids are as active as they have been. So
Right.
I love that bit about it.
So I see that Justin Bieber and Adam Levine are Teqball players. Have you matched up with either of them yet?
I have not. No, that would be a fun. I could grab a partner and it'd be a fun 2v2. I think I'd get my competitive juices flowing with that one.
I think you would too. All right, let's talk about the NWSL and your minority investment in Gotham FC. The NWSL is growing. I've had people from Angel City FC on this show, including Abby Wambach. San Diego added a new team. They had 32,000 fans at a game this year. What do you see the growth potential of the NWSL being?
I think it's great. When we've had other expansion teams kind of come in throughout the last decade of the NWSL, it was difficult. It was difficult for them to kind of get the caliber of players that they needed. And San Diego and LA, Angel City have come in and they're rocking. They're packing stadiums. They're doing well. Obviously, San Diego's doing really well. So I think we're now seeing a flip of a switch, and the trend is heading in the right direction. I think the important thing is just kind of have to continue to do the things that are necessary the right way. And that's the most important thing. And obviously there's been a lot of things that have happened over the last several years. Not great press, but I think that this was a good reset of the league to continue to trend in the right direction.
Do you feel like the investment in women's sport is starting to head in the direction it needs to head in? I know it's still a very small number. It's under 5% of all corporate dollars are invested in women's sports. But do you feel like, things are starting to head in the right direction?
I do. I think you're definitely seeing it kind of overseas in Europe and England, Spain as well. So it's getting there. I think there's differences in investment in the NWSL with certain teams. Obviously, the caliber of some of the teams' investment is a larger pool of money than other teams. So I do still think there's a long way to go on that end. But hopefully, people continue to invest because the product is out there and it's showing, and we just need more people to put their money behind it to be able to continue to help the players and help the league.
You were part of the battle for a long time with the U.S. women's national team for equal pay, and that has finally happened. What was it like? I'm sure it was emotionally draining. Anytime you're fighting for something groundbreaking like that, it goes beyond the soccer pitch. There's so much more going on. What was that like?
It was challenging. I mean, no one wants to be fighting with their employer and filing a lawsuit and then the next day going out and playing a game. I mean, it was very awkward for those 6 years, and it was challenging. Myself, along with, Becky, Alex, Megan, Hope at the time, and Kristen, Press, and Tobin then came on board. There was a lot of phone calls. There was a lot of meetings. There was a lot of emails of having to read documents, calls with attorneys. So we kind of all took the bit of the brunt of it, whereas the other players, we just kind of relayed that information to them. So it was a lot. It was a lot to take that on, but we knew the long-term effects of it, and we knew the importance of it. Although I would say that we did win the equal pay fight, I don't think that we necessarily still won, because here I sit as a retired soccer player who basically gave 2 decades of my life, put my body on the line for 2 decades. I retire almost a year ago, and thank you. See you later. No pension, no health benefits or stipend to pay for health insurance. Nothing that gives you the security to enter into this next phase of life. I can't sit at home and do nothing. I have to work. I have to stay active. So I don't think that we have won on that front. I know NFL, NBA, all, Major League Baseball, when you play a certain amount of years and you give your body and your life to that sport, you get a pension for life. That would be nice. I could kick back. I could enjoy life a little bit more. So I don't think that we've necessarily won transitioning into the phase after soccer. So that is kind of the next bit. While we have to continue to push for players to get paid while they're playing, what happens to the players when they're done playing? That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I absolutely 100% agree with you. Is there anything you can do from where you sit now, or is it up to the active players to fight that battle?
Yeah, I have voiced my concerns to our Players Association rep and players, and have talked about it. I know in speaking with Hope Solo, her husband, Jeremy Stevens, who played in the NFL, walked away with, a health stipend, that you can use if you need surgery or if you need to purchase, health insurance for your family. So it is really important because I really am a firm believer is it's not what you make, it's what you save. Hopefully players are saving while they're playing, because when you get into this next phase, all you've done your whole life is play soccer.
Right.
I feel very fortunate and grateful for the opportunities that are still coming my way. And I'm working really hard and staying involved and doing all that. But what happens for the player that maybe played 15 years, maybe wasn't a high profile player, retires, and then it's like, then what?
Right.
So I do think, yes, it's up to the active players now. I'll continue to speak upon it because I've just lived the equal pay fight as a player and then transitioned into this retirement phase. But we as soccer players at the moment do not have the luxury of just going into retirement and not doing anything.
Yeah. When I had Abby on, she's now a minority owner with Angel City FC. So you kind of have to put yourself into the mindset of ownership now and how you want to treat the players. And you just talked about how you wanted to be treated. Do you think, as someone who's on the ownership side now, maybe you can lay a pathway there, even if it's just on the NWSL side of, here's how we can treat players better so they get these benefits when they're playing, but then also when they're done playing, if they play a certain amount of time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the intricates of how all the other leagues work, or how the NFL works. I do know that I think that there's dues that are paid from players that go into this pool, and then that's where you kind of get the funding. So I don't know the logistical and the complex, just numbers of how that all comes about. But I do think it's important that if you're giving yourself, almost 2 decades worth to the sport, and you come out of it. I mean, I played with several players like Shannon Box who may need knee replacements soon. I mean, you put your body on the line for so long, and or I guess her, or her husband's insurance, is going to have to cover that. There's nothing in place that kind of helps players. So yeah, I do think that from an ownership standpoint, I can definitely voice that. I can continue to talk about it because I don't think people are aware of it. I think it's like equal pay while we're playing, but then what happens next? So that's, the next phase, and maybe it's another complex fight that all players need to kind of come together and figure out. I think it would be, really beneficial to see how it's worked with Major League Baseball, the NFL, how that all came together. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
You've got some great corporate partners, as we discussed earlier. Obviously, you're working with Teqball, Symbody, Nike, CBD Medic. Again, how do they find you? How do you find them? Are these products you're like, hey, I really like this, I want to talk to the ownership about working with them? I've had lots of athletes on this show, and there's kind of a combination of how athletes and companies end up working together. But how would you say it's been with you and your partners?
Yeah, I think some have happened organically. Some, the opportunity just kind of presented itself. Like I said, I think all of my sponsorships and partnerships that I have, align with what I'm about. And that I think is the best form of partnership, where it is authentic, where I do like the products, I use the products. But I've been, super grateful for all of my partnerships that I have. Nike, I've obviously been with a really long time, since I think 2006-ish or so. So yeah, it's just been great. And I think it's really all about relationships. It's all about getting to know the people. It's not just showing up and doing a couple interviews and a production day. It's really, just trying to help grow, help evolve, getting to know the people that work within the organizations, and putting my best foot forward. I approach every partnership and obligation that I have the same way that I approach my career, and that's to work hard, to be respectful, and just continue to help the organization.
How were you during your career about recognizing, okay, at some point soccer is going to end, so while I'm in the spotlight, I should take advantage of the access I have to some of these companies and CEOs and people like that to build the relationships? Or was it more along the lines of, well, I've got 1 or 2 years left, I better start, strengthening these relationships for my post-soccer career?
No, I mean, for me, speaking is a big thing of what I do. I do enjoy, going and speaking at different corporations, organizations, colleges, universities. So I started doing that at, earlier on in my career, just to get more comfortable, to get those reps in to do that. So that is obviously something that you can carry into your life after soccer or life after sport. I run my own CL10 clinics. I've been doing those since 2007. So they're, now a well-oiled machine, that I'm continuously doing there. And then really, I mean, 2015, after the World Cup, it changed my life. I feel like I was always kind of the black sheep of the group. I didn't go to the agency that half the team was represented by. I chose to go with WME, who didn't have any other soccer player, because I felt like I would be given more attention than kind of being in that pecking order. And from there, it was just kind of, doing things here and there. But then, 2015, my career blew up both on and off the fields. And, that was a great launch that I've kind of sustained into my post playing career. Again, just taking every opportunity I can, doing it to the best of my ability, just being very respectful, forging relationships. I'm just a big believer in, if you put your head down and work really hard, treat everyone with respect, you never know what's going to happen. And so all of this hasn't been by accident. It's you work hard, people enjoy working with you. It's, you become top of mind and they want to have you back. So yeah, it's been really good. And, just kind of stepping out of my comfort zone, even with the broadcasting bit, doing a little studio analyst stuff. But yeah, I'm just always looking for ways to grow and to become better and put myself in kind of those uncomfortable situations.
Please take this as a compliment, but you seem like the type of person who, if you felt like the black sheep, as you just mentioned, you put that chip right here on your shoulder and you use that as motivation. And like you said, you blew up in 2015. You had that incredible World Cup performance. Why did you feel like the black sheep?
I just kind of did everything different, in my career. I went about my career differently. I wasn't afraid to voice my goals. My individual goal when I first started out with the national team was to become the best player in the world. I haven't really heard any other soccer player say that and then be able to achieve it. And I wasn't shy about it. And I think that people just weren't used to a confident woman from Jersey with a little chip on her shoulder, kind of coming in and saying that right off the bat. That was my individual goal, but my team goal was to always just help my team win championships, as many championships as I could help my team win. And very fortunate enough that I was among some pretty amazing championship teams, winning World Cups and Olympic golds. But I would say that, I've just kind of carried that throughout my career and, put my head down. I've worked really hard. Things didn't just come to me very easily. I had to work for everything that I got. And so I feel like having a very tough, difficult journey starting out in 2005 and going till 2015, till I was really worldly recognized. And it took scoring a hat trick in a World Cup final for it to happen. I was appreciative of all that came my way because I knew that I put in the work and I did it the right way on and off the fields. It wasn't because I sucked up to somebody or I had a connection here. It was purely based off of what I did on the field. And so I've just been very grateful for all that I've had. I've started from the bottom and worked my way to the top. And I think when you have it that way, you do appreciate things. You don't become complacent and you want to just keep striving to be better. But when you have things thrown at you right from the start and it's easy, it's hard to motivate people to want to keep going. And it's hard to really appreciate what's coming your way.
Take me into the mindset of a penalty kick. I've had, Lindsey Horan on this show. I've had Abby on this show. It's such a pressure-packed situation. I mean, it's literally you and the goalie. And usually when you're taking these PKs, the stakes are super high. It's the Olympics. It's the World Cup. I mean, there's a lot on the line. What's your strategy when you're lining up over that ball?
So for a good portion of the national team, Abby was always, when I was playing with Abby was always the PK taker.
Okay.
So I often didn't find myself taking as many PKs and I would practice here and there. But in 2011 World Cup, We had two shootouts, one against Brazil, which we all made it, and then the final against Japan. And that was a very teaching moment for me because I actually hit a horrible PK, went and probably hit some seagulls up in the air. But that was because I was in my own head of whether to switch sides or not. Did the keeper study our Brazil shootout? What should I do? So that's when I really started to take the initiative to practice PKs. And it turns out that in 2015, Abby was on the bench for most of it. And there were a couple PKs, key PKs that I had to step up and take, and I made them. And that is because I spent from 2011 to 2015 getting a routine, practicing, sticking with the routine, and getting a lot more practice with taking them in games. But it comes down to having a routine. You have to have a routine, the same routine over and over again. And you have to be confident. You can't be worrying about the goalkeeper. That's the most important thing. If you're starting to second guess yourself and worried about the goalkeeper, you're most likely not going to make it. And the ones that I've missed, I've maybe let that come into my mind a bit instead of just getting up there, being consistent and, confident in your kick.
It's great advice. All right. Last question. Our audience wants to know what's next, what's in the future. We've talked about Teqball. We've talked about Gotham FC. You've got your CL10 soccer clinics. You're playing golf. You're doing all these things. What's in the future for you?
Future, I mean, it's going to be a busy couple of years. I mean, Men's World Cup coming up, Women's World Cup, you got the Olympics, then you got 2026 Men's World Cup coming here to the US. I'm going to probably most likely find myself continued to be immersed in soccer in some capacity. Some broadcasting, studio analyst opportunities. From a personal standpoint, hopefully starting a family in the near future with my husband. Aside from that, just really living life and enjoying it and continuing to improve my golf game.
That's awesome. Carli Lloyd, you can follow her on social media platforms everywhere at Carli Lloyd. Carli, I've wanted to have you on for a long time. I'm such an admirer of your career on and off the field. I think you're an amazing person, and I appreciate you joining me on Sports Business Radio.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Appreciate it.
You're listening to Sports Business Radio. We'll be right back.